Hello and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are looking to substantially increase your caseload in the next 6 months, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Demming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Demming, the local business guy. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rockin' week thus far. Today, I have the privilege of introducing you to someone that's going to help you grow your law firm in 2024. And I'm making a bold statement there, I know. But once you listen to what he has to say, he's going to tell you exactly how he's going to do that. And of course, I'm talking about the great Ron Latz. How's it going, Ron?
Frank, what an introduction. I appreciate it. You're too kind. But thank you so much for the invite. If it's like any of our other conversations, I'm sure we'll get deep into some tactical stuff, some strategic stuff. But whichever way the conversation goes, I'm happy to be talking shop with you, my friend.
Awesome. So I say same here. I always like to talk about someone who serves the legal entity. So it's always fun. It's always a good conversation. So with that, let's before we get into any deep dives here, why don't you first of all, I know I introduced you, but introduce yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, Ron Latz. I'm the founder and CEO of LegalFenix, which is a legal consulting, advisory, and fractional CMO outfit. I got into legal just shy of a decade and a half ago, about 14 years ago with Thomson Reuters. From there, I had eventually gone out on my own. I helped then rebuild a smaller boutique legal marketing agency. And I really had just gotten tired, Frank, of just the inherent bias that I felt like some of the firms that I spoke with felt whenever I was recommending the product or services that I was selling on behalf of the agency. So that was one of the driving factors that really allowed me to go back out, rebrand, rename, and relaunch the business. Even though I've been incorporated for about 7 or 8 years, I publicly announced the new business name about 6 or 7 weeks ago at this point. And right now I'm just enjoying the conversations that I'm having with new prospective firms and my roster of clients as well.
Awesome sauce. Explain a little bit. I mean, I know what it is, and maybe some other, and I'm sure others know what it is, but there may be 1 or 2 listeners out there that are a bit confused. Explain the term fractional CMO. What does that mean?
Yeah, you've probably seen a lot of fractional professionals burgeoning upon the scene or on LinkedIn talking about, their ability to offer service-based businesses or even other types of businesses in other industries the expertise and experience of a highly skilled professional, essentially at a fraction of the cost. Many times these are project-based engagements. They are also to fill temporary leaves or gaps of other professionals that may have come in and out of the firm. But essentially, you're able to tap into a legal marketing executive who's got roughly 15 years of experience. And they're not going to be full-time, but you've essentially identified a handful of initiatives or projects or improvements that need to be tackled. So you bring this individual in. Hopefully they set you up for success. At the end of that engagement, they can either give you the keys and you can drive the car yourself, or you can continue to build upon that relationship. For example, I've helped firms interview their internal marketing resources to help them build that function in-house. And then I kind of slide back into more of the strategic leadership role, and I'm not as much in the weeds. But it really does vary, but it enables you to, again, work with someone on a part-time basis that's got a lot of experience, but they don't carry, the big time heavy compensation package or salary that some other professionals would demand.
Right. And I know you're based out of upstate New York. Well, I say upstate, but it's not really upstate. But I know you're based out of New York State.
Yes.
But do you service everyone across the country, I'm assuming?
I do. LegalFenix is actually also international. I have a client in Geneva, but every other client is within the States.
That's awesome. All right. So, you've been around quite a while. So give me first of all, why the legal entity? Like why legal?
I fell into it randomly, Frank, but once I started to get my talents deeper into it, I just really enjoyed the challenge. It's an incredibly competitive market, and I'm a very competitive person. So, like, I really get excited when I'm working with one of my clients because we've got a go-to-market strategy in place. And, the firms that I'm working with are mostly growth-minded firms. So, we're looking at ways that we can do whatever we can to dominate that said market, or at least a portion of that market. The other thing was that I did get satisfaction out of connecting individuals who are going through some of the most difficult moments of their lives with service professionals who can help carry them through those moments. We as legal marketers do have a very unique challenge. I think it's different from some of the other marketing challenges that other industries face, in that our clients' consumers are essentially navigating through their lives hoping to avoid having to use the services of a lawyer, right? No one wants to get into criminal mischief or injured in an accident or run into financial problems or have their family broken up. But
Right.
when those unfortunate things do occur, these lawyers and law firms are the ones that can help shine a light at the end of that tunnel for our clients. And I do enjoy connecting those two people together. And I feel like it's the social component that I do really find an attraction towards.
Okay. Now give me a few, if you can give me some some success stories that you've had, number one, and number two, that so is a two-part question. What is that sweet spot of clients that you like to work for? Is it uh the smaller firms, the single, is it a solo practitioner firm, etc., stuff like that. So but first, tell me a war story that you felt that you really helped a firm really grasp their niche, if you will.
I won't go as far as calling it the war story, but what I will say is that in each engagement that I have, all of my clients at the beginning stages, one of the things that I try to do is ensure that all parties are held accountable to their end of the bargain. And I think that in
Mm-hmm.
helping them regain and restore trust in their agency and having accountability on both sides, it does enable a more successful and fruitful relationship. For
Mm-hmm.
example, a lot of times clients are coming to me because they're stuck, they've plateaued, or worse, their traffic, their leads, their revenue is declining. And they want to evaluate some other marketing vendors in the space because they don't feel like they're doing enough, or their current agency might not be hitting the mark. What I try to help them do is figure out a way to articulate and define how they are going to measure success so they can bring that information to the agency. They are completely brought up to speed as to what factors, what metrics, what pieces of data is that law firm going to monitor on a month-over-month basis to ensure that you are doing the job that they hired them to do. And once that is clear and out in the open, and both sides completely understand what it's going to take to be a successful engagement, I think that's where those relationships really start to flourish. So, for example, sometimes lexicon needs to be clarified. They're not talking the same language. Like, what a qualified lead means to one firm could be completely different than what it means for another firm. When you talk about cost per click, or cost per conversion, or cost per acquisition, or cost per action, you've really got to define these things so that you know what the target is, unless you're going to be flying blind. So making sure there's accountability on both sides, restoring trust within the agencies because they've likely been burnt or just jaded from poor experiences in the past. We can't let that carry into a fresh new relationship. We've got to get that off on the right foot. So
Mm-hmm.
defining success, getting the key criterias of a successful engagement, and making sure that both sides completely understand what it's going to take for you both to be happy. Now, you then talked about like the bread and butter. Well, who is my ideal client?
Correct.
My ideal client is a firm that is either unsure of what's working or what's not really working with their marketing. They don't know how to translate their reporting or any of the information that their agency is bringing them. So they're somewhat lost because they don't understand the information that is being presented to them, or their reports are incredibly confusing and they don't know what they are tracking.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I think that there's a need for someone that has the desire to buy back some of their own time and relinquish whether it's the burden of marketing strategy or relinquishing I'll call it the ownership and responsibility of the marketing operations and your reporting and that infrastructure. They just want to have that delegated off to have somebody else run with it. They still want to keep in mind like how performance is trending, what the revenue is. Are we meeting all of these key metrics that we have told to the agencies that are most important to us? But when they get to that point where they want to continue working on another part of the business because they don't necessarily have the subject matter expertise or the in-house knowledge to drive that strategy, that's where I can really come into play, pick up those pieces, try to get all of their vendors on board so that their messaging and positioning is consistent, and get everybody rowing in the same direction, right? Like a lot of times when a firm is working with disparate vendors, like the left hand doesn't know what the right's doing. Like we got to bring these people on the same page. We have to let others know what it is we're doing because a lot of these things are going to complement or supplement one another. And I think that's when everybody is rowing in the same direction. You build that momentum, you start to build traction, and that's how you get the flywheel going.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I like what you said there. So in your case, what I'm hearing, I guess size doesn't matter. I'm just joking. So
You're going to get the people out there for the Morgan and Morgan action coming after you, Frank. I mean, listen, no, size does not matter. I have firms that are solos and I have others that have 10 to 15 lawyers, right? It depends upon where you are in that phase of your growth, right? The smaller firms are typically going to have to be doing a lot of the do-it-yourself type of approach. So they bring me on so I can give them a roadmap and provide some steps and recommendations so that they don't walk over any landmines as they attempt to navigate what can be a very intricate and complicated like legal marketing vendor landscape. Then you've got more of the bigger firms. They might already have a coordinator, marketing manager, or even a director in place, but they want to bring someone on board that's got, a decade plus of experience to really make sure that that team is a well-oiled machine, right? So like that might also limit the scope. You might be focused on a particular channel. You might be focused specifically on just the strategic and the operations component, overseeing the internal resources. And then the rest of that team is going to provide vendor management oversight, the reporting, and things like that. We really got to break that down when I'm in the discovery or what I call my alignment process with the firm, so I understand exactly what the scope of service is going to be.
Okay. Now one of the things that I wanted to get into, because like as you said, we've had our sidebar conversations prior to setting this up, obviously. And I want to get into some of those topics that we talked about because I think it was very interesting to me, and I'm sure the audience will appreciate it too. Let's talk about some, like developing like relationships, like with like with yourself and your part, like how do you do that? How do you develop those relationships between yourself and your clients? I mean, because if I'm not mistaken, it's just you, right? You don't like have a team or anything like that. It's just you that connecting with your clients, correct?
Not full time. I'm leveraging VAs and contractors, but I don't have any W-2 full-time employees. Correct.
Right. Awesome. Yep. I'm the same way. I'm positioned the same way in the market. I don't have any W-2s. So how do you what is your strategy, I guess, for developing? If I'm coming to you, I'm a family law firm, I'm about, I don't know, 5 to 6 million in revenue a year, so relatively small. And I want to grow. I think there's something. I mean, I'm getting a lot of traffic. My conversion rates kind of suck. How do you develop relationships to make sure that our business relationship continues?
Let's take that hypothetical example. You kind of talked about conversion rates that are somewhat declining, or maybe they're not as responsive as they should be. Before I get into any marketing recommendations or channel investment allocation discussions about where we should spend more or less money, I need to ensure a couple of things, process oriented wise, are completely on lock. The first one's going to be your intakes team and your intake system and management, right? Are we responding to all inquiries? Like, is your phone call answer rate as high as it possibly can be? Is someone monitoring that voicemail? Who's responding to the text messages? Do you have dynamic call tracking software in place so we can try to collect some source data? Is that information then pushing into some sort of intake management system? If not, where does it go? Who's responsible for it? So that's going to be your intake, because that's your first line of defense. It's usually these are the individuals that are having the primary discussion. It's the first interaction, the beginning stages of when someone is starting their journey, their experience with your firm. The next is going to be service, right? If you've got capacity issues, if you've got bandwidth issues, if you can't keep control of all the leads that you've got today, there's no point in investing additional dollars into a marketing channel to start bringing in new prospective clients, because the only thing you're going to do there is start investing at first poor impressions at scale, because someone's going to come on, you're not going to be able to handle them. They're going to tell from your non-responsiveness. And then if you rub them the wrong way, now that's going to be an individual that goes and tells their friends, family, and colleagues. And worst case, they go and leave a review to tell how poor of even a phone call they had, and you didn't even have the chance to serve that client, right? So those things have to be taken care of. Now, you talked about like a $5 to $6 million shop. Before I make any recommendation, in order to like build trust with them, I got to understand what the target is. Where do they want to go? What is that goal and objective? And then once I understand all of that, then I can start talking about whether or not that strategy and the associated tactics are aligned with the overall business and marketing goals and objectives. So like before I feel like I'm even getting into the nitty gritty of what I'm going to do on a month or weekly basis with the firm, I feel like I got to show them like these are the things that we have to put in place before you do any of that, because it's not good. What I'm going to provide isn't going to be as nearly as valuable if all these other houses aren't going to be in order.
Right. No, I got you. That's good. So you're basically saying what you're basically saying is that you do everything strategically. You don't shoot from the hip. You go based on their current situation, and then you can give them suggestions from there, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of firms out there that will show me some conversations or proposals that they had, and that these are mostly templated options that sometimes the firm is trying to be forced into some sort of pre-built box, right?
Right.
There is no customization around the strategy, or there's no discussion around the local competitive landscape, right? Like, what does the Google Business Review landscape look like? How are they positioned against that? Forget it. A lot of these times they are not even given access to things like Search Console or analytics or the ads platform. So, without getting some of that data and understanding then the financial side of the house, I think it's difficult for some agencies to provide a customized recommendation or solution because they don't have all of the context. Now, when they are given that information, now you're going to be a step ahead. Talk about relationships, right? If you've developed a relationship, you've led with value, you have given the firm some solid insights before they've even showed an interest or entertained a conversation with you about your service, right? If they're coming back to you, I mean, you've developed and nurtured that relationship. You develop some trust. They know you, they like you, they trust you. Now they come to you before they possibly make some of those poor decisions with another agency. And I think that's the position I try to put myself in.
Yeah. I wasn't going to bring this up because I can't remember the name of it, and I hate saying something without having the name of it so people could look it up. But if it comes to me before this ends, I promise you I'll bring it up. I'll put the name in. But I want to bring it up because it has to do with AI. And how it has affected you and your business and your clients and stuff like that. There's some tool out there I'm hearing that you basically you put it in, you put your business in it, you have all your, like your Google properties tied to it, your ads platform, your Google My Business and all that. And then it gives you like a plan basically on, a plan to how to fix everything that you're going to do. And of course, somebody has to manage it, but I can't remember the name of it, but I mean, I have not been able to actually play around with it to see if it's worth anything. Have you heard anything like that?
I know that there are individuals out there that are building like custom GPTs for their business. So
Yeah.
like I'm part of some mastermind groups where the individual has built like their CFO GPT and their
Mhm.
CMO GPT and leverage some very specific prompts about their business so that they can get more strategic insights in how to improve
Mhm.
processes or workflows and things like that. Listen, these tools are incredibly powerful, and what we've seen today, it's going to be nothing compared to what the future has in store for what AI is going to bring. I think there are many use cases from an operational perspective that firms can use, whether it's to get inspiration and ideas for additional content on social, testing out different ad copy lines or CTAs, finding new headlines and or slogans, things of that nature. Outside of that, it could spit out an SEO strategy, right? Like if you're taking the time to spit in some of like the highly detailed prompts that talk about goals and objectives, the market analysis, the competitive landscape, your GPP profile, what are the channels that you're invested in, how much are you investing, what is the split like with organic? Are you putting all your eggs in the local basket? Do you go and do just hardcore and aggressive link building? Like, what does that look like? What is your social presence? Are you on all of the platforms? Right? Like, you could feed all of that information. It's going to spit something out. Sure.
Mhm.
You still
Mhm.
got to verify, still got to reference and make sure that it's accurate and that the things that it's recommending you can actually do and it isn't a complete hallucination. But
Mhm.
to your point, Frank, like at that point, now you've got to call it a 15, 20-page document, right? Like now someone's got to go and do it. You,
Right.
you need someone to implement, you need someone to deploy, you need someone to carry that ball over the finish line in order
Mhm.
to get the results that you're hoping to achieve, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I just hear a lot about that. I run into that a lot. Not, I shouldn't say a lot, but more than it was last year. Um, of yeah, but it's this thing that does this and this, and I'm like, wow, really, you really gonna buy into that? Well, go ahead, invest in that tool and see what it does for you.
Frank, it's so
Uh,
shiny. It's such a, it's so shiny. It's
it's
the
a yeah, it's a
yeah.
shiny tool. Yeah, I get it. It's tempting, but just curious. I just wanted to see if you've run into that yourself, or if you feel it's a threat to your business. Like, what's your whole take on the whole AI revolution, if you will?
I listen, it's the same thing when you had TV even replacing some radio, or you had digital replacing newspapers, or you had like there's always going to be advancements in technology. I just believe that it's going to not be the replacement of individuals from a wholesale perspective. It's just going to be the individuals that are using AI will replace those individuals that cannot or don't use AI in any capacity, any way, shape, or form. I think as far as like threats to business, that's the biggest piece. It's going to not be that AI replaces the lawyer. It's just the lawyer that uses AI will replace the lawyer that doesn't necessarily use it.
Mhm.
From my seat, I would say a quarter of the firms that I speak with are incredibly innovative, open to exploring what AI can offer, right? Like
Mhm.
they are testing it out. They're not using it for everything. And like half of those people, I think, are going a little bit too far and
Mhm.
leveraging it for everything. Like I'm going to have ChatGPT write all my social, all my practice area pages, all my blogs, all my articles. I'm not going to review it. I'm not going to edit it. Like I think that's a little
Yeah.
overboard, right? There's got to
Yeah.
be a delicate balance there.
Correct.
Um, but like this is still a small portion. The other ones that are attempting to use it for process improvements, maybe content calendars. Again, we talked about content inspiration, ad copy variations all day long. I think that that's an incredible use case for it. You can use it to manipulate and adjust some of your reporting as long as you have fail safes in guard to protect, your confidential information, right? Personal information. You don't want to go too far. But then I think that a large portion of the market is really just, I don't know. I don't want to say flat out neglecting it, but they're very skeptical and aren't even really giving it its fair share. And I think that's just a disservice to the firm. And those are going to be the ones that are likely disadvantaged in the future, because the other firms that are leading the pack now, this automatically will deem them as followers in the future.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the sad things about AI for me is you're going to see a huge decline in on the human what's the word I'm looking for, capacity of in terms of not intelligence, but in terms of understanding the subject matter. Because if right now we understand, as a marketer, myself, I understand marketing. I can tell you exactly how a marketing campaign can work. But if I've never done it and I've always relied on a machine to tell me, my intelligence actually reduces. So if I'm born, if someone born today who never had to do it, born into ChatGPT or whatever is going to be hot, 20 years from now, all they have to do is plug in this stuff. Do they really understand marketing? No. So where is your intelligence? You know what I mean? So anyway, that's a little sidebar thing that I'm thinking of. I'm like, that's a little scary if you really don't understand how this works. If you just relying on this thing to tell you, now you really don't understand. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to find out your AI. I always ask people who come on the show what's their take on AI. All right, so basically what you do, if I'm not mistaken, is you help attorneys, if you will, because it's just attorney, firms, law firms that you work. You don't work with like
Nope.
accountant firms or anything like that, just law firms, right?
Exclusively law firms.
Awesome. You basically help them safeguard their investment, basically. Like, so if they are paying another marketing agency, let's say, 20 grand a month or whatever, you're helping them safeguard that. You're letting them know, hey, this is working or this is not, right?
Yeah, it is. It is a protection. It's a protection offer, so you can feel confident in your investments. A lot of times the firms that I'm working with don't always know what they don't know. So
Yeah.
when we're talking about a scope of an engagement or some of the strategies or tactics that the agency is going to deploy for a certain campaign, right? We have an open and honest conversation about it. I essentially translate for them what this actually means.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to also level set the expectations, because a lot of times I think that is unfortunately missed during a sales process, right? Like there are many individuals out there that are tasked, their job is to sell marketing, right? They've got a job, and in order for them to put food on their table, right, they've got to hit a quota, they're carrying a bag, they've got to perform. So I've been in that position as well. So I know very much how that feels, right?
Mm-hmm.
The lawyer is talking to them and putting their trust in their hands to help build and grow their business. But there is that conflict of interest there, because there is somewhat misalignment of business interests, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a salesperson that is attempting to sell them these products and services, sometimes regardless of whether or not it's going to work, because their job is to sell a certain amount of product.
Right.
So now, because I've been in that position, I understand what they are trying to do, and all I try to help facilitate is the conversation between both sides, especially when the firm is misguided. That's all. So if they were promised the bill of goods, or the wool was pulled over their eyes, or they're getting price gouged, right? Like, listen, I have no problem paying for a premium product if you're going to get premium results, right? But the juice has got to be worth the squeeze here.
Exactly.
So in those situations, I'm helping them translate what it is that they're saying so that they understand, because a lot of times they'll go back to the agency, wrongfully so. And they will say that, well, why aren't we doing this? Or why aren't we doing that? And they become, I don't even want to say defensive, but it's just for a lack of understanding or knowledge about a particular type of strategy or tactic. I can have that conversation very simply with them. Whereas, an agency might come off as brash or insulting if they're trying to like dumb things down or really explain to the firm, because there's somewhat of a contentious argument over like whether or not something should be done this way or that way. Listen, there's a lot of different ways that these things can be done. So let's just make sure that we lay all of our cards on the table. We set proper expectations with the client. The client's got to create that feedback and give it back to the agency in a timely manner so that they can continue to pull the levers to optimize and improve. But a lot of times what happens is, law firm throws in the towel, gets upset, just kind of takes the squeaky wheel, gets the grease approach, and annoys, the agency until there's eventually a breakdown in that relationship and they part ways. Like that doesn't help anybody.
No, it doesn't. No.
So if I can help avoid some of that heartache or frustration at any point of that process so that both sides can get what they want, I think that that's the win-win-win.
Yeah. No, I like that. So what are you hoping to achieve in 2024? I know we're halfway through the year and everything, but like what are your goals? Like what are you hoping? Is there any new type of practice area that you were looking to connect with, or what's that looking like in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, as far as my goals for the remainder of the year, even though again, small shop, but I still run EOS, so I've got my rocks between now and the end of at least Q3. But what LegalFenix has on the docket is some hiring. I'm trying to continue to expand my bandwidth of my executive assistant and hopefully helping her alleviate some of the administrative burden that she's responsible for right now, and get another VA so she could start delegating. Because a big thing that we've been working on over the previous like 30 to 60 days and will continue to work on throughout Q3 are all my SOPs, right? So they're pretty much almost finalized, and then we'll add some video to them so that when a new team member does come on, they know exactly what it is that they are going to be doing.
Yeah.
And if sales continue at the pace at which they are, I've been very fortunate, very lucky, a lot of inbound interest, especially as a result of the public announcement. I'm likely going to be looking for someone else to join the team on the consulting and advisory side of the house, because a lot of my time is going to be occupied on my fractional engagements. I want to continue to grow and scale. And that's going to be another way that I can buy back some of my time by ensuring that I have another seasoned legal marketer within the fold that can help on some of the consulting engagements, so that the ones that are ready to be kind of evolve and move into the fractional space, they can kind of graduate into that program, but I don't lose sight of the individuals on the consulting side of the house. So outside of that, I do have targets for myself to be guests on podcasts or other speaking engagements, other writing opportunities. That's a big part of my strategy with the demand gen that I've pretty much produced through LinkedIn content marketing. You mentioned practice areas. Again, like I work with many different types of firms. I don't work in the big law space. I don't do any defense work, but pretty much outside of that, I think the only practice areas I'm not working with currently are real estate and bankruptcy. IP as well. I don't have an intellectual property client, but other than that, it's run the complete gamut, Frank. So I really like that because it keeps me on my toes. I've got a lot of experience just working with all these types of firms, but I'd like to have a good, stable and diversified client portfolio, because I can kind of beg, borrow, and steal from each of these types of practice areas and apply the lessons learned. And if it works somewhere else, try it somewhere else and see if it works. If not, like I don't consider all experiments a failure. I learn from them. We take those lessons and apply them moving forward so that we can be better.
Awesome sauce. What's the website where people could check you out and see what you guys are all about?
Yeah, you can find more information at legalfenix.com. That's Phoenix, F-E-N-I-X.
And if they want to know more about yourself, can I give them a link to your LinkedIn
Yeah,
profile on the show notes?
let's go for it. I try to post content every single day, whether it's insights, tips, tricks, recommendations, how to navigate agency relationships. That's where a lot of the conversations and introduction that I have come from. So don't be shy, say hi.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to put both those links. I'm going to put your website link on there, and I'm also going to put your LinkedIn link. So if anyone wants to chit chat with Ron, get to know Ron, or maybe if they have a need for his services, please go to the show notes and click on both those links there. But before I let you go, Ron, I know you're a very busy man. Is there anything I did not ask you that you think will benefit the audience?
You know, on a lot of these things, they talk about what I'm bullish on, right? Like as far as specific tactics. And I usually give more of a tongue-in-cheek response about how like I'm all about whatever's working for my clients, because there's
Right.
so many firms that'll say SEO is dead or paid ads didn't work or LSAs are terrible or this or that. Listen, it all works. It's just whether or not it works for you. And if you've got the right expectations and they're managed accordingly and they're reset and properly reset time and time again, because your marketing is going to be dynamic. It is not a static type of initiative. So, you know, what I'm bullish on is not hating on experimentation, right? Taking the lessons that you learn and applying them to move forward. I think there's incredible opportunity on a platform like LinkedIn for lawyers to develop their own personal brand, right? I think that brand is going to be a big play, especially as we see AI overviews continue to dominate some of the search results pages. Between that and the fact that we've got all these paid ad units essentially occupying every nook and cranny as you scroll down, I think getting someone in your fold by searching your name or your firm is not only a way to increase your conversions, but acquire those clients at a significantly lower acquisition cost. So if you're not building brand, you should be doing that.
That's right. Also, well said. I'm glad I asked that question because there's a couple of clients of mine that needed to hear that just because you hey, this thing is not, it was working great last month, this month's not working that great. It's not cookie cutter, it's not a thing. But yeah, there you go. So I'm going to share this with some of my clients so they can understand that it's not just me saying it. And I did not pay Ron anyway. So with that, no payments here, man. This is just sharing great information between two business owners who love the legal market. So with that, I'm going to put an end to this episode. It's been a really great and enlightening episode. Go to the show notes right now. Check out Ron. I think you're going to be very impressed with that. And I'm going to put it into this episode. This has been Frank Demming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Ron Latz. Take care, anyone. Until next week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you would like to know more about the topic we discussed on the show today, reach out to Frank and his team at 888-416-7752 and schedule a discovery call with one of the marketing consultants. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, send an email to podcast@lbmsllc.com and we will put you on the schedule. With that being said, until next week, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.